From Beyond Marketing, it's the 20-Minute Call, a podcast about the dreamers, boundary pushers, rebels, and champions of the skydiving industry. Each episode is a narrative journey highlighted by the highs, lows, and luck that the skydiving industry delivers, as told by the most influential people within the sport. If you've ever dreamed of becoming a skydiver, perhaps opening a drop zone, or becoming the next world champion, check out the 20-Minute Call hosted by me, James LeBarry. Today I have the pleasure of welcoming an accomplished skydiver, competitor, and coach, Chazi Rutz. Based in Eloy, Arizona, Chazi has made a lasting impact in the skydiving community with over 10,700 jumps and a decorated career that includes silver and bronze medals at the USPA Nationals in freestyle and freeflying. She's also been a part of 13 vertical world records and numerous state and world records in both head-down and head-up formations. Beyond competition, Chazi is a load organizer, tandem instructor, and a passionate advocate for the sport. She's contributed to initiatives like Sisters in Skydiving, helping to foster a supportive environment for women in skydiving. Her approach to the sport is rooted in fun, progression, and keeping skydiving accessible and relevant. Chazi's talents extend beyond jumping. She's also a certified yoga instructor, bringing mindfulness and movement training to both skydivers and non-skydivers alike. Whether she's in freefall or leading a yoga class, she embodies a philosophy of resilience and passion, summed up in her personal mantra, "Get up." With a career marked by world records, mentorship, and a relentless drive for growth, Chazi continues to push the boundaries of what's possible in the sport. I'm thrilled to welcome Chazi Rutz to the 20-Minute Call podcast. Welcome, Chazi.
Hi, James. Thanks so much for having me.
Chazi, I first noticed you many, many years ago because of your energy. Like you bring the vibes, the really good energy. And one thing that I noticed when I was at Eloy one year was your really cool socks. And I remember them to this day, and I haven't seen them since I saw them, maybe 6, 7, I don't know how many years ago. And they were of Yoda. And then he had little Yoda ears popping out the sides so that they would be flapping, certainly when you're free fall. And I came up to you and I was like, I just love those socks. Still love those socks. But I just knew in just looking at you and your socks, there is somebody with a great personality.
There's somebody that's not afraid to wear crazy socks. Yoda still exists. The last time Yoda flew was in November, so not even that long ago. He was part of the 100-way upright head-down record attempts. He didn't actually make it on the record, but he was definitely there that week and had a full day of jumps.
Chazi, I feel like, I don't know you very well, but I just see somebody with just a great personality, with good energy. How would you describe your personality?
It's really hard because you never like to talk about yourself, right? Okay, my personality. The get up mantra, I loved when somebody called me bubbly. I was like, oh, that's sweet. And then I think if you don't put the seatbelts away in the airplane, you see a completely different side of me. And it's that side that could handle being in the military and like wanting things to be right and safe and you better do it or I'm going to get really mad. But overall, I think just trying all the time to be happy and to be bold. And I just want everybody around me to be happy too.
You mentioned being in the military. Tell me about that.
Classic. My recruiter lied to me. I went into the Army National Guard right after high school. I can do a lot of push-ups. I ran really fast for a little while. And really, truly, aside from being able to fold my socks correctly, it was a springboard into a career for a while. So it was nice to have that training and do those things. And now all the time I'm like, I can do a lot of push-ups. So there's my military career. Never went anywhere significant. Luckily, I didn't have to do any deployments, which is good and bad. Like it was hard to see some of my friends have to do those things, but it was also like really cool not to make my mom worry that much, right?
So tell me about your roots. Where are you from, and can you share some details about your family?
Yeah, of course. I grew up in Minnesota. So either snowing or getting bit by mosquitoes. My parents are super awesome. I had really cool grandparents too. Like my parents were the youngest of their siblings, and we were like the youngest of the cousins. So we also, my sister and I got the caring part of grandparents' retirement years. So I had a really strong bond with my family. Right after high school, I went into the military, eventually got a college degree after bouncing around a little bit. And I landed in Arizona in 2006. And the rest is history. Now, I had a job for 17 years sitting at a desk, not really liking the corporate world. But I always thought, like, okay, during Monday through Friday, life is not that great. And then on the weekends, it's super great. So it levels out, right? Everything's cool. And then 17 years after being with that company, I got laid off. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to do this thing I already like doing. I'm going to get all my ratings and do the skydiver thing. So I have been since 2018, and I do like it. There's two things that I love to tell people. And the first one is anytime in the corporate world when people said, if you like your job, you never work a day in your life. I never believed it, and I always just laughed at them like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I started working in the skydiving industry, and I was like, oh my God, I actually do like what I do, and it doesn't feel like work anymore. So that was a cool like moment of, I mean, is this adulting? Can I actually like my job? Yeah, it happened. And my favorite thing about the big career change was I showed up to the drop zone after work, and I stepped out of my car, and I was like, oh crap, I'm still in my work clothes. And I looked down and I was like, never mind, this is my drop zone clothes as well. So I was like, oh, I'm winning. I'm finally winning. Yeah, so I've just been like, I want to say, oh, I've been crushing it. I've been enjoying my skydiving existence longer than I knew. And I'm super glad that I was able to make it a full-time gig.
So what were you actually doing for 17 years behind a desk? What was that job?
I was kind of a project manager. Yeah. I worked for a telecommunications company, which was springboarded from the military. And a bunch of my friends got on at this company. Okay, yeah, cool. Eventually, phones weren't a thing, at least not the type that I was working on. So as things were changing and downsizing happening, it just wasn't meant to be anymore. So very happy that I don't have to do that anymore.
You mentioned you have a sister.
I do.
What does she do?
She's a pilot for Delta. I know, right? We always joke that she's the smart one because she flies the plane and all I know how to do is fall out of them. Yeah, she's incredible. She's always been, I'm going to say somebody I look up to. My younger sibling is somebody I look up to, but it's true. She set her mind to something and she would do it. Like, oh, I'm going to be first trumpet so that I can play taps at the Memorial Day service. Yep, first trumpet, playing taps, of course. I'm going to be a pilot. Like, she's an incredible musician as well. She's always just been like smart and talented, and I'm very lucky to have her.
I'm a Delta loyalist, so I'll have to be on the lookout for, for
Right on.
That's the only one I fly.
You'll probably be like, did she just say Chazi? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
How good is that? What were your interests growing up? Was there any indicator that this would be the life that you're living back then?
100%. I think if you would have told me that I was going to skydive when I was in high school or even before, I would have been like, yeah, probably. I was a gymnast. I love jumping on the trampoline. And Point Break was a great movie, but Drop Zone was even better. There's a character in there, Yancy Butler plays her, and she's just this really badass chick drinking Bud Heavy, dropping Wesley Snipes out of the trap door and going to get him on a tandem. So it was like, oh, I want to do that. And eventually I did it. And then 3 years later, I was like, how do I learn how to do the thing so I can take the people? And then I started jumping, realized I didn't want to be a tandem instructor. And then 17 years later, decided, oh, okay, I better be a tandem instructor.
So if I'm not mistaken, you made your first jump in Hawaii. Is that right?
I did.
What was the circumstance of that?
Look who Facebook stalks. Okay, so my first skydive was in Hawaii on the North Shore. Family vacation. So my parents were in on it, even though I was 18 at the time. My sister was getting all these souvenirs, and my dad was like, Chasey's gotten like a few t-shirts, and like, you haven't like gotten anything, do you want something? And I said, well, I saw a billboard to go skydiving, so I think I want to do that. So he made me call around and figure out how to book this tandem and get the directions. And this is like before Google Maps, right? Like, we're on a family vacation in a state I've never been to before. And I had to figure out like on a map, like how to get to this drop zone. So we got up early and we made it there, and I made my first skydive, and I got pretty motion sick under canopy. I probably almost wore out that VHS tape because it just made me smile every time I watched it.
Do you remember the song that was on that tandem?
I should know this. I know it when I hear it. There's a Tom Petty song in there, but it wasn't the classics, and I didn't get any of the like Top Gun themes or anything. It was crazy. I was like, man, why didn't I get to choose that? But whatever.
Mine was With Arms Wide Open by Creed. I feel like when Creed was out, that was overplayed on tandem videos for many, many, many years.
I'd like to say Lucky, but I don't know if I would have been totally into that either.
No. So you make your first tandem in Hawaii, and then you decide you want to do this more. So where did you go to start AFF, I assume?
It wasn't even AFF. I have over 20 years in this sport. I started at a Cessna drop zone in southern Minnesota, static line. It was awesome. I had to do 26 jumps to get my license. I still don't know what flying relative is or what the hill is, but that's okay. Yeah, I love this story too. This is one of my favorite things. I had already done that tandem. I had already worn out that VHS tape. So when I walked in, I looked at the board and I saw like, the class and the jump and the tandems and all these things. And then at the very end, there was a full package price, like get your A license. So I wrote out my check for it. It was only $1,000 at the time. And I slid it across the table. He slid it back to me. Like, don't you want to like do the class or do the first jump? And I was like, nope, I already know. And I slid it back to him. So there was like no going back. Like, I walked in there because I was going to get my license. And then I did. It just took forever because I was in Minnesota and the weather's not the best.
Classic, completely hooked.
Yeah, totally.
If you're a DZO or DZM listening to this podcast and you're not using Burble, I've got a question. Why not? If the reason is price, what's the cost of your time? Other booking and manifest softwares are a one-size-fits-all. Burble was built from the ground up by a DZO for DZOs to maximize efficiency. Now, isn't that nice? There's no software that compares. Choose Burble. Burble. I want to come back to something real quick. Your dad calls you, or your family calls you Chasey, but does everybody call you Chazi? Do I have that right?
No, it's my sister.
Oh, your sister's name is Chasey.
Yeah, so I said on Delta flight, when you hear, this is Chasey, your pilot speaking, you'll be like, what?
I got muddled. Okay, got it.
Sorry, yeah.
So I understand your first mentor was Joe Reinhard, if I'm not mistaken.
Huge shout out. Yes.
Tell me about him. I'm not familiar with him.
He is an incredible person that I met in Nebraska. I lived there for a couple years. Him and his wife and myself, we all moved to Arizona within a few months of each other. And since we had come from the Cessna drop zone, there was just like okay, let's on Saturday, it's going to be a Chazi and Joe head down camp day. And I'll never forget just how generous he was in like helping me, mixed with, obviously I was down here with Arsenal and a whole bunch of really great flyers. But it was like that guy who took me under his wing, and we're still really good friends. He doesn't jump very often. He's a very good family man and construction worker. So they moved back to Nebraska not long after being in Arizona. I think they're only down here for a couple years. So yeah, so it was like one of those stories of somebody who impacts you from a small stage in your life, but I still like highest regards. Can't wait to see them when I go back. Like it was just a really great friend to have.
Cool. And I also read that you were quite inspired by Dale Stewart.
Yeah, of course. I was a gymnast, right? So another VHS tape showing up at the drop zone. That's probably what not turned me to freestyle. Duh, Dale Stewart was amazing. But it definitely inspired the whole free fly side of things. So classically, I skipped a lot of belly fundamentals and just started doing what I call flips and shit, and eventually competed as a freestylist. So yeah, huge like thank you for making videos back then, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't have known. There was no internet to constantly give you like sick angle ideas.
Have you ever jumped with Dale?
No, I've never even met her.
You've never met her. Wow. Dale, if you're listening out there, thanks.
I'm a fan. Thank you for your inspiration.
You've been on a lot of world records in your career. Can you tell me a story of a moment where the highest of high that you have felt from one of your records, and it doesn't even have to be a record, but also a really low moment as well, where you've been truly challenged?
Does the first one where you don't even get to be on the record attempts count as truly challenged? And then your teammate saying knock knock and you go, who's there? And he's like, F you, you're on the B team. It was terrible. But it didn't stop, right? So the next one I got it and I was happy about it. The biggest moment in a world record for me, I think, was probably being a part of Project 19, because it wasn't just a record, it was a message, and it was an entire week of extreme focus. I personally was in a minor car accident that caused a big pain in my back and my butt, right? Terrible. So I was dealing with a bunch of like physical feelings, and sitting on the plane for however long we get to sit there and freeze was just like physically challenging. And then knowing like all the work that had gone into it and everybody that was there to make it happen, it was just like, it was a lot of pressure, and it was really awesome. When we did the 72 way and we landed, I remember saying like, okay, great. We got a 72 way base now. Because it was one of the coolest things ever. Like we went up, we were practicing 40 ways, and then we did like throw this 72 way with the whole thought of it being like, now we build off of this same 72 and we keep going. So making that accomplishment, it didn't even matter like what happened after that. It was just like, we knew, okay, this is solid and this is like what has to continue. So yeah, low point, not getting there. High point, wow, our work and our being calm like can pay off, and it was really cool.
I felt Project 19 was awesome because it did stand for something. It had such a societal message that everybody could learn from, not just women. And it was refreshing to me that skydivers are taking a stand for something. It was great.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with you. It was it was funny when Amy called me, because if we only had a 65 we had a 65 way world record standing, and she started to tell me about how we needed a 100 way, and I started to hold in laughter because that's impossible. And then when she told me about it being based on the 19th Amendment and the 100-year anniversary of it, it started to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is not just a record. This is something that we're going to put everything into it, and it's going to be bigger than anything we've ever done, regardless of number, the process to get there was going to be gigantic. And it was awesome. It was really super great to run camps in Arizona and have all of our guy friends who were also learning to fly big ways be supportive of the women around here and helping push them on the road to the record as well. So yeah, you were right. It wasn't just like, oh, women's suffrage, let's do this thing. It was this worldwide effort of camps and people coming together and really wanting success for everybody.
Yeah, very cool. Chazi, I meant to ask you this earlier. I'll ask you now. How did you bridge the gap from being at the small DZ in Minnesota and doing 17 years of working for a telecommunications company and then coming to Eloy? Why Eloy versus Florida versus California? What was the connection?
Oh, okay. I had moved around a little bit. The decision to come to Arizona was, man, Florida, I was like, it's too wet there. I remember visiting grandma and grandpa there when they were snowbirding, and it was just like humid. And like a couple other places that stood out were like, Texas is cool. I was like, everything's big in Texas, which it is. And then California was just a little bit too, they're all my California friends are gonna hate me for this, but it was like too granola. I had like at the time I wasn't a yoga instructor, but my cousin was, and she was very like earthy. And I was just like, man, I don't surf. I just don't think California is for me. And then it was like, well, Arizona is like the home of one of the biggest drop zones in the world. Like you open up parachutists and all these pictures are from there, which they pretty much were when, when this was happening. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember visiting grandma and grandpa there when they were snowbirding. Cool, let's do it. So we moved to Arizona, and my job was also like I got a transfer. So it seemed like it made sense. Biggest drop zone in the world. My job still has me on the like payroll. Like, cool. Okay. Packed up a U-Haul and moved.
So that was very intentional. And if I'm not mistaken, you've been a professional skydiver ever since.
No.
Is that right?
The timing was moved here in 2006, lost my job in 2018, and then got my rigger's ticket, got my tandem instructor and AFFI.
Okay. I wasn't sure what the time was when you just went full skydiving.
No, it wasn't a full cutaway. It was like, oh man, I didn't have a malfunction cutaway myself. Somebody else like kicked the handle, and I just was like, oh, okay, well, we're doing this.
You've cracked the code though, right? There's a lot of people that do want to be full-time skydivers. How have you been able to figure that out, I guess, is
to not get burnt out on it?
To not get burnt out and to actually like survive just working in skydiving. Because I mean, there's a lot of folks that do it, but it's hard to get there. What advice would you give, I suppose, and what have you learned that has allowed you to do this?
I feel like my story is a little bit different because I was already working as a load organizer. So I had already had like established amount of jumps and been a competitor. So I was kind of like into it more than just going from my 500 jumps to being an instructor. And then I don't want to say being stuck in the instructor life, but I had that in of being an organizer already. So I felt very comfortable in the sky. I had no choice. I was either going to get another like job I didn't like sitting at a desk or do this thing that I already knew that I really enjoyed. I think the thing that made it and continues to make it possible for me and not get burnt out is that I do so many different things. I'm packing for the military. I'm trying to pack my own reserves. Like, don't ask me to do it for you. But I get to do AFFI work, and I get to be an instructor for the military sometimes, which is incredibly fulfilling, like being able to teach students. Anytime I get to do tandems, it's an I get to, and I always come out of it with a story. My boyfriend is super awesome and super supportive, and I laugh because I'm always like, how many work jumps did you do? What, any good stories today? And he's always just like, okay, whatever. And I'm like, no, when I went, I got to take a cancer survivor. I released Bob's ashes today from one of my tandems. So I feel like I just somehow get all of these really great, inspiring, like heartwarming tandem students. So that's helping me always want to do tandems, right? Because I just can't wait for like the next really great story that makes me happy that I got to share the sky with them. So yeah, so changing it up is for longevity. As far as advice for somebody who wants to get into the sport, that's a good one. I knew that I loved skydiving from the moment that I did my first tandem. I think that if you have a good head on your shoulders and you can be positive, even when it's not the best day or it's a weather day or you locked your keys in your car, if you can find a way to like break through and always find the goodness, you're going to enjoy it. From a I don't know how I want to say this. From an instructional standpoint on it, always learn, because there is always something to learn. So whether you have 5,000 jumps or 50,000 jumps, there should always be that hunger. And if you're not learning because you're not hungry for knowledge anymore, then maybe there's something else that would make you a little bit more fulfilled.
What is the most memorable tandem student you've ever jumped with?
The one who puked on me. No, not that. I don't want to say that. I already alluded to it. There was a woman that I took that released some of her husband's ashes. And that to me was like so cool. Like, what a crazy request. And like, do I put this in my pocket? So just having this like open communication with somebody I just met, I knew her for 15 minutes. And to be able to like share that and give her that opportunity was incredible for me.
I want to zero in on some language that you use. And the language in your posts, and you also said it here, is get to. I get to. One of the posts, and I actually wrote this out on a question. One of your posts says, I get to load organize on Sunday. And I love that. And I'm so curious, what about you? Where does this positivity come from? Because it's easy to get jaded when you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, it's easy to get jaded. It's easy to fall into this whole like, oh, the sun's not shining, wind's blowing, everything's terrible, like bad hair day, having a cutaway and having gear fear. It's hard to be positive. I will say that I'm incredibly fortunate because one of the things I realized in the past 5 years, I think, it's 22, in the past 5 years, I woke up one morning and I was like, oh my God, I'm inherently positive. So all these people who are having a bad day, like, no, that's not what's going to happen now. And it's just something that it is inside of me. I want to continue this way. It's not always easy. And it isn't for anybody, right? Like the most positive person out there, if you can get them to be real, they will tell you, no, sometimes I have to work at this. And it's true. If I don't have anything to do and my schedule is not packed, I start to like go crazy with anxiety of like all the things I think I should be doing. And then I have a sauna now, so I have this place where I go, which is so awesome. Because then I can just like fake meditate my way through all these things and get back to that like feeling of positivity and that light of like, no, I want people to be happy. This is how we're going to do it. Just keep going, get up. And as far as like getting to organize, it is cool. I give like this amount of days and I might not get to work all of them. So it's not a have to, it's an I get to. Like I said, yes, I'm available these times and I got them. So that's just part of being positive is the get tos instead of the I have to.
I love that. And does that come from your family and sort of your makeup, or is that just you, Chazi?
I mean, you're a product of your parents, I think. So, yes, When I started jumping, my dad would wake me up at like 6 in the morning on a Saturday. And mind you, I was like, close to 21. So 6 a.m. on a Saturday wasn't my favorite thing. But he was always like, all right, well, it's not going to get less windy. So he's a driving force of getting up early and being productive. And my mom is definitely the kill him with kindness, be so sweet. One of her biggest things is she's like, don't do anything that would embarrass your mother. So I try sometimes to abide by that. But yeah, it definitely came from my parents. My dad's always busy. My mom works really hard. They both work really hard, and they've influenced me a lot.
Do you know that you're a rare breed?
I mean, I have an unusual name. We go rare with that.
If you're a fan of the 20-Minute Call, I'd like to invite you to be a member of a budding community with me on Patreon. By becoming a patron of the show, you can join me behind the scenes to discuss options for future guests and gain access to some show swag. It's pretty sweet. Details on how to become a patron can be found in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. Let me ask you, this positivity, this light, we'll call it this light, this energy that you've had for the sport and being in this community is so refreshing. And skydiving gives so much, but it takes away so much, right? We have lost friends through the years. How have you been able to continue your enthusiasm while also losing friends along the way?
I mean, I have my moments. I think that more than once I've said the show must go on. And there is that realization that let's apply this to the freeway. Even when there's a crash, you don't stop, right? Like you keep going. So yeah, there's the people that I witnessed the crash or they're close to me and I need to come pick them up or spare tire it or deal with their death. But a lot of the times the traffic must keep flowing and the world must keep turning. So to continue on and be like somebody strong when your friends not always like can be, I feel like that's my role, right? They get up, they keep working. Like that's all I know how to do is to work. So yeah, it takes a lot from you, but you learn from them and you learn from your fallen friends. And we just accept that this sport is dangerous. And if it wasn't, it probably wouldn't be so bonding.
Chazi, I don't know you well. I don't know you at all. But when we talked about you doing a tandem with a lady who released her husband's ashes, and as we just talk about in general terms of losing friends on the journey, you get emotional.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's close to the surface for you.
Well, yeah. And the beginning to 2025 has been incredibly stressful at our drop zone. So it's very real. Also, let's chalk it up. Like I was traveling this weekend, so I'm tired. It's harder to stay like out of the tears when I'm tired. Yeah, for sure.
And by no means a critique. It's I don't know. I mean, I feel like my perception of you is you are appreciative of the friends that you've had and that you've lost, or, of just being with somebody that is having a moment like releasing their husband's ashes. It's not, I don't know. I just feel like you're sensitive to what's around you and not just charging ahead with blinders. It's refreshing.
It was something about, the energies. Yes, maybe. I'm working on how to realize energy.
In 2012, you were nominated in Blue Skies magazine as Best Load Organizer. And I know that meant a lot to you. Tell me about that.
I wonder if I still had that up on the wall. Yeah, wow. So I love this part of Blue Skies mag, right? They come out with the Drop Zone Awards, and not everybody, but everybody who was paying attention to that magazine logged on and like voted on things like who has the best food, who has the best manifest. the best landing area, the best amenities. And then it was like the best LO. And oh my God, my name was written in for that. Wow, that was really cool. The year before, Skydive Arizona was voted worst organizers. It consequently was the same year that I started organizing. So I had it in my mind of like, well, this drop zone needs to be better. We need to be better. And just started organizing as much as I could. I was working Monday through Friday then, right? So when I was organizing, I had this different perspective on it about like, it's not just like filling the plane and getting people on there. It's about having a good time. So to know that within a year, Skydive Arizona went from voted worst to voted best, and maybe we weren't best, but whatever, in my mind we were. And then being a personal shout out for me, like in particular, I was like, oh my God, yes. Like if I'm making people happy, then like I'm fulfilling my life prophecy. Yeah, it was cool. I felt very honored to get that award.
Chazi, can I ask you a question that is not appropriate? And that is, you mentioned that, hey, I've been in the Army. I worked a job, pushing paper or, nothing that was inspiring you for 17 years. Chazi, how old are you?
I'm old enough. That's what I'm, I have a few. I'm turning 45 this year.
You got a ton of experience. So you're still very young, for sure. But
thanks.
You've been in skydiving for a long time, and it sounds like you've had a lot of different life experience. And a big part of that is yoga. Can you tell me about how you got into doing yoga and becoming an instructor?
Yeah, the instructor part is actually quite new. So that's awesome. It's another little challenge for me to have to talk for almost an hour straight. And I like telling people what to do, but creating a different space now is really cool. I started doing yoga in 2011 because I thought it was this hip thing that Amy and Sarah were doing. And I went into a Bikram studio, and I figured out like I have to go 3 times to make my Groupon worth it. So the first time that I had to hit my knees, like I think I was down on my mat like at least 6 times, like almost blacking out because it's so hot in there. Oh, okay, I can do it a second time. And I think by the 3rd time I could remain standing through the whole standing section of class. And then I fell deeply in love with it and didn't stop. Like I ended up competing in yoga. Like what skydiver competes in yoga? But I got along with the studio owner, and she's like, oh, you should do this competition. Okay. So I was doing like classes like twice a day, like 3 hours in the hot room a day to like compete. And it wasn't even about being stretchy. It's about being like in it and confident of it, and you might not be able to do the pose like ridiculous like somebody on Cirque du Soleil, but if you could stand up in front of the crowd and present your posture to them, then cool, you're competing. So went off on a tangent there. Yeah, yoga to me has been a really cool thing of moving meditation. And I think overall, if there's any time that I get away from that, it takes me like a week or 2 and I get back into it and I realize just how beneficial it is for your mind and your body to just have that time to yourself. And breathing. Who knew breathing's important? But yes, it's a huge piece of yoga. And now to be able to instruct in it and actually be able to tell your AFFI to take a breath for like more reasons than just relax, bro, is kind of nice.
My wife was a yoga instructor, and I was amazed how much goes into that between the sequencing and also the music as well. And I was just blown away by how time consuming it is to be prepared for a yoga class. And then once there, be present. Big respect for that work. There was so many blind spots I had that I knew nothing about. And then when I saw it, I was like, gosh, this is hard.
Yeah, it can be, but it's really cool and it's good for you. So you should do it.
I could definitely benefit from some yoga for sure. Tell me about the expression "get up." What does that mean to you? Where does that come from?
I think that is inspired by my parents just always working really hard. When I was in gymnastics, I remember if anybody like fell off the beam or had an issue, I under my breath would just be like, get up, like trying to encourage them to do more and get back on the beam, try again. So I find myself saying that to myself as well. If I really had to think about it, I would have some traumatic story from falling off my bike where I was, no joke, there I was laying on the sidewalk looking at, and this gets way, way more dramatic than it was. But I could have swore to you that the ants were coming over to like pick up this chunk of my elbow that I had scraped off. And my mom just came around the corner and I was like, I fell. And she was like, well, get up. So I think that's truly where it came from. Just my mom being like, yeah, okay, brush the dirt off. Let's go.
I'm 47, and I'm very close to my parents. And I just spent a week with them this past week. And they are extraordinary human beings and have been a huge part. I don't say a huge part of my life, obviously, but I'm inspired by them. And I'm getting that energy from you as well. Your parents have come up a lot in this conversation. They sound like amazing, not that you would say that they aren't. They sound like amazing human beings.
This is being recorded. I couldn't say anything terrible. No, they are. They're wonderful. They're actually snowbirding in Arizona now because they miss me. I don't know if that part's true, but they live in Minnesota. My sister still lives in Minnesota, and the last few years I've been lucky enough that they've been spending winters down here. So yeah, they're incredible. They taught me everything. They continue to support me, even though they think my jobs are not like legit, but we make light of it.
Have they been supportive the whole time with Chazi going down to Arizona to be a pretty full-time skydiver?
I mean, in their own way, it's very foreign to them that somebody can make money doing what we do, which I understand, you know. It was also foreign to my dad when I would say I was taking a vacation day. Like, he's like, I don't get those. I'm in construction, you know? So it's just a different career path than I think they ever saw me going on.
I read that one of your great life achievements was throwing your parents a 40th anniversary party. Is that right?
I did. With my sister and a few friends help, flew back to Minnesota, threw them a surprise party. We capped it at just like friends. We didn't invite any family. We were like, no, we're having a party for them, like 70s style, because they were married in the 70s. Yeah, and we pulled it off, and it was like so incredibly funny. There was another couple that was going to come over, and they were going to go out to eat, I think. But my sister and I showed up in this van, and we just like started bringing in food and decorations. And my mom like didn't understand. We handed her an outfit for the party, and she's like, "Oh, okay." And as she's walking to change, she's like changing things on the table, like making things look straight and clean, and like wiping some crumbs off of something, you know, because all of a sudden there's going to be a crash party at her house. So it was great. That was probably the first time I ever tried to do a keg stand with a box of wine. You know, good stuff happens at wedding anniversaries. Yeah.
As close as you are to your family, I have to imagine it was brave and tough to pick up your life and move from Minnesota so far away from your family to Arizona. Was that pretty tough?
No, it wasn't, because they taught me to be adventurous. I mean, like, my parents are very entrepreneurial in the things that they did in their lives too. So I don't think that they were surprised that I could do that, because they did it too. Like, before they had kids, like, they moved, they did things. They did things when we were young too. Like, well, and they still like constantly, like, the projects that my dad comes up with that need to get done right now, I'm like, who thinks to do these things? Like, I can't even tell. Like, he came down this year, and was this year or last year? One of the years he decided he needed to build a lean-to on my shed. Well, of course you need to. Okay. Like, it's just, tell me where to swing the hammer.
That's awesome. This podcast is sponsored by Beyond Marketing, the digital marketing agency for the skydiving industry. Now, I'm not a fan of lots of ads during a podcast. I mean, who likes ads? So I'll stop talking about how marvelously wonderful Beyond Marketing is. But if you're curious about what the amazing people of Beyond Marketing do to help drop zones and manufacturers thrive, then you should check out their website at dropzone.marketing. That's dropzone.marketing. Chazi, were you on Max Pyro?
No, I was not.
You were not.
No, I draw the line at night jumps, and then I saw them with their landing area all lit up, and I was like, oh, my friends are so cool. I did get to see it. It happened here, obviously. I had three. I was there all 3 nights. It was great. One from the courtyard with our friends coming back in. One, we were out at the pond for a memorial, which was just incredibly special because the person who had passed away was a Max Pyro participant in the past. So that was incredible to like have that going on during this memorial. And the other night, we just got to sit out in the backyard and we could see them from our backyard, which was like, and I'll say it again, my friends are so cool. Yeah, they did great. And I was not on it because I'm not scared of the dark. I'm scared of landing in the dark.
I've talked to a few people that were on that record and so experienced. And yet this was the jump that had everybody nerved out. You know, just so many different variables going on. It is one of the most spectacular things I've seen. It really was remarkable.
Yeah, they did awesome.
Chazi, what does a typical day look like for you? What is on your agenda tomorrow?
Tomorrow I have such an easy day. Tomorrow I'm going to try and help my dad with whatever project he's doing. And then I'm going to be at the yoga studio from 10 to 2 so we can do some like marketing video stuff. Just trying to keep people interested in coming to classes. So yeah, it's like a super easy day tomorrow.
What's a normal, not easy day look like for you?
A normal, not easy day is more like a normal, not easy week where it's like working Monday through Friday, Friday night tunnel with my team, Saturday training, Sunday training, in there, Saturday night coaching in the tunnel. Yeah. And then maybe, teach a yoga class somewhere in there. Hopefully go to yoga too, but I usually am too tired after instructing.
Do you read very much or listen to podcasts or audiobooks? What are you into?
I'm definitely into the audiobook thing. I take my dog for a walk every morning, even when I have to take him, like wake him up at 3:00 in the morning. Like, okay, bro, we're going for a walk. He doesn't want to do it, but I'll make him do it. So yeah, a lot of audiobooks, especially when we're driving, like if there's an hour commute and I don't have any carpool buddies, like definitely going to be listening to something. I'm along the lines of not anything educational. Yeah, it's got to be educational though, or an autobiography of types, like of somebody I like, because I want to learn like factual things. I'm not really into the fiction side of the house.
So what would you typically be listening to, or what is one of the best audiobooks you've ever listened to?
Oh, man. This is like funny because then it makes me seem like I follow celebrities a lot. Matthew Perry's book was, I don't know why, but it just was like, it really sunk in with me. I listened to Jules' book as well. I liked everything that she was saying. Like, what an incredible, crazy life. Like, wow, I did not have it that hard. Goodness. Yeah. I don't even know. I should look at like my audio list and like to like go down and like, that was good. Yoga had me listening to the Bhagavad Gita and like trying to get through the Upanishads. I say trying to get through because I was trying. I got my certification. I got a lot of yoga learning to do.
I love holding on to a book and reading and the texture of it. But I love listening to audiobooks by the author, because when you hear the passion and the tone, you don't get that in a book. And I don't know if you've listened to Matthew McConaughey, his autobiography but it was so good.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that.
I really did too. And I was surprised that my mom didn't. I was like, what do you mean? Like, he was entertaining. He's telling his story. And like, he seems like a positive, immediate action person too, right? Like, making all these things happen don't just happen. Like, he had to be an active participant in his life. And like, yes. Is it green light? That green light is a good one.
That was a good one. Yeah, that's really good. Tell me something, Chazi. I ask all of my guests this most obscure question, and that is, I'm fascinated by crossroads moments. So what I mean by that is, perhaps you meet somebody that might seem like just a mundane chance encounter, but that person you meet completely changes the entire trajectory of your life, or may not be a person at all. Maybe you are encountered with a decision and you say yes to it, or you say no to it. But either way, that yes or no completely changes the trajectory of your life. What is a crossroads moment in your life that, had you not met the person, or had you not said yes or no to something, that it's likely you and I are not having this conversation today?
That's not a thing, James. That did no. I've never had to make a huge decision. Like, every day is a huge decision. If you saw the process of picking up my socks in the morning, you would understand that my day is dictated by the sock choice that I have. Really, truly, in a like deep sense, I don't have a significant one. I feel like there's input every day. And if you can be positive and try to find the good, then good things keep happening. Yeah. I was very lucky to have wonderful parents, to move to Arizona, to lose my job when I lost my job. I look at almost every person I meet as somebody who could have some sort of impact in some way, shape, or form. This is how funny not how funny. This is how much I can't answer a huge crossroads question. The reason why is because I was just washing my car the other day, and I noticed a gentleman washing his car. The place I was in, I've never washed my car at before, so I was surprised at how many people appeared to be on meth that were walking by. So I was just kind of like, okay, like, be vigilant. Yeah, I know, sketch car wash that I was at. But this other gentleman, when he looked at me, he asked, special occasion? I was like, no, just like been working down a road that was really dusty and just cleaning my car. He goes, oh, okay. And then I felt compelled to ask him, like, special occasion? And his wasn't really either. It was just like he was busy and he needed to clean his car to feel better. But I came home from the car wash like, that guy said that to me to remind me that if you just like clean things up and have things tidy, that things are going to be okay. So yeah, no major roads, just constant interactions with very interesting moments.
Very cool. No wrong answer there. I have to ask you,
I wasn't getting
where do you buy your socks from?
A total shout out to Socksmith, because they have been so supportive of the SIS events for years now. And to be quite honest, I don't buy my socks. Like, people give them to me.
Wow.
It's another one of those moments where somebody gives them to me and they're like, I saw these and I thought of you. And I'm, oh my God, thank you so much. Okay, I'll wear them. So I really, truly don't remember the last time I bought a pair of knee-high socks.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have over 100 pairs of socks.
I was going to ask you, how many pairs of these do you have?
I have a lot of really nice people.
So if anybody wants to send you some socks, they can just send them to Chazi at Skydive, Arizona.
Yeah. They can, but I'm good. I'm good. Nobody has to do anything for me. I'm good.
Chazi, I feel like the greatest gift anyone can ever give you in life is their time. And I'm really appreciative of your time. oftentimes in skydiving, you meet people and you might make a jump with them. You might have a beer with them after the jump, but you don't ever get to know that person. And I've seen your name and parachutist so many times, certainly on social media. The whole purpose of this podcast is selfishly to have a reason to talk to people that I'm curious about, that I've observed through the years. You know, sometimes they're not who you thought they were, but you are who I thought you were, you know, in our conversation, or who I thought you were. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being such an awesome ambassador. My takeaway from our conversation is get to.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I do have to do a shout out for the biggest moment in my skydiving career.
Please do.
Arizona Anthem. I didn't believe it. And then I meditated a little bit for me. And then we ended up winning that world championship in October. And it was one of the biggest, most nerve-wracking 10 jumps I've ever done. And it was also like one of the most accomplished moments. So total shout out to my teammates who continue to take up all of my time and support me and each other and the community. So I'm very, very fortunate to be on that team and have that here at Skydive Arizona.
Who are your teammates? What are their names?
Seth Studer is our driving force because he's addicted to VFS. Irish, John Blackburn, he's the hashtag best teammate ever. We've been on teams since 2010, 2011, freestyle and VFS. And then we joke around about our LBOs, our last best options. I'm very fortunate to have Josh Sattler and Yanni Lee as our videographer.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's a focus of like training and competing and what was that like? And I was like, hey, we haven't talked about them. And like, if I'm not working, I'm training. So yes, my teammates are a really big part of my life.
Before we exit, the World Meet was in off the coast of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been spectacular views. Do you even notice that? Or are you just so focused on your routine?
That is so funny that you say that because everybody was saying that, like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful place to jump. And I was like, you can look around. Like, what are you talking about? So yes, it was. I didn't know that we had such a beautiful drop zone in the United States. So that was really cool to like see that part of the country. And yeah, and to be there with the crowd we were with, like the whole entire United States delegation was so awesome. Kirk Werner was like watching the scores and he was like, we might have an FS sweep. And I was like, stop putting more pressure on us. Like, why? Oh my God. But all of our dreams came true and it happened. So yeah, it was cool. I did look around when we were doing MFS because I did MFS afterwards. And yeah, it is beautiful there, turns out.
So awesome. Congratulations. What an awesome achievement.
Thank you.
Very cool. Chazi, thank you so much. And again, thank you for being such an awesome ambassador for everybody and really one for all of us to look up to. So I'm grateful for your time. Thank you for joining me today.
Right on. Thank you.
Cheers. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to the 20-Minute Call podcast. Please do follow us on your podcast app so you always have the latest episode, which is released every Monday. If you want to contact the team, our email address is podcast@beyondmarketing.xyz. This episode was edited and engineered by Garnet Znydrick of the YouTube channel Blue Skies Fun Days. Thanks for listening and join us next week for our next episode.